What's your favorite?
My favorite hunting story probably be my 380 bull.
I think my favorite's this year, that whitetail hunt.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
That was pretty cool.
We went out and there were 4 of us. Riv was with us. We call our dad Riv after which movie is it?
It's an Adam Sandler one.
Isn't it Big Daddy?
No, it's Happy Gilmore, I think. Hey,
Old
Old Man River,
Old
zip
Man
it or
River?
I'll break your hip.
Yeah,
it's with Bob Barker.
Yeah. So anyway, that movie came out in mid-90s probably. And ever since then, we've called our dad Riv, just like in that movie. And his dad calls him Riv still to
His
this
mom.
day. His mom, everybody in his whole family calls him Riv. It's pretty dang funny. So
Lay down.
anyway, we were out there this year, and all 4 of us were out in tree stands. And one of the tree stands we'd set up the day before. My dad and I set it up in a rainstorm.
That's a grandma thing.
Yeah, Weston.
And my dad passed on this buck. And then Dustin
He videoed it, though.
Sent us the video. And Dustin ends up shooting one like 10 minutes later. And then
And it dies. Like, I shoot it at, I don't know, 18 yards, and it goes 20 yards, and it dies right in front of me. If you whitetail hunt, that rarely happens. So I take a picture of it, and we're all in this little group text, and we're all talking about this buck my dad passed on. And I'm like, it's okay, guys, it's dead. It's dead right in front of me. We'll get to look at it when we get out of the trees.
You're in the video.
And that's our mom.
I'm going somewhere.
Okay, have fun.
And so, but somehow, our little brother doesn't believe in cell phones. His
he
cell
uses
phone he
an
carries
iPad.
around is a freaking computer. So, anyways, I take that picture and I send it. I thought I sent it to these guys and our dad, but I actually sent it to his wife. And so she's getting in on this group, and everyone's like, yeah, we can see it, but Dane's saying, no, I don't see it. There's nothing there. You guys are messing with me. But it was his wife. And so, anyways, it just, and then
I was so confused.
well, and then Jordan ended up shooting the buck that my dad passed on.
Came right under me at like, I don't know, it was probably 8 yards away. I shot it about 15 yards away, and it went about 10
So
yards.
Dane doesn't even know that Jordan's got one. They get, it gets dark and they meet up, and Jordan's like, I got one, and Dane's like, what? And he's all confused from this.
Well, and I had a nice buck under my tree stand at 2
missed.
yards.
He missed.
But there's more to it than that.
No, he
You missed. The bottom line is you missed. We were successful. That's the bottom line.
The deer was, every time it stopped, it was behind a tree. I held my draw for 7.5 minutes. And by the time I finally did get a shot...
3 minutes when he first told
Well,
us?
if you look at his arms, that's just the way
It's
it goes.
intimidating?
Yeah. But anyway, he ended up holding this draw for like 5 minutes, and you get to there and your arms start to shaking a little bit. Shot right under it, didn't you?
Right under it, yeah.
But our dad, he just, we to this day, we think that he didn't see the deer coming. He's getting older, and his eyes and his ears and
He doesn't hear real well.
everything else. So we just think he didn't see it coming, because the meadow that he was sitting in is a huge meadow.
I'm certain he wasn't ready.
I'm positive of it.
I think he probably heard it, and then he got his phone out to take a picture, and then he couldn't get his bow ready.
Because he's telling us, he's like, oh, it's okay. And then we're looking at the video. I'm like, if that deer walks under me, I'm shooting it 100%. Granted, I'm not like these guys. I have a hard time not pulling the trigger on a mature whitetail buck. And I kill him at 10 yards. When a nice buck walks by me at 10, 15 yards, I'm probably going to shoot it.
His real issue is he can't shoot past 20 yards. That's why he shoots the little ones.
Why don't you tell him the story about my moose?
He hit it perfectly. And
Well, what about
20
before
yards.
that? About a week before the season opened, I wanted to go fishing and run up, on the river in the
He's got a
jet boat.
once-in-a-lifetime Idaho moose tag. I'm like, don't you think you ought to shoot your bow? He hadn't shot it since last September or October.
And I said, no, I'm good.
So he got cocky
good to
and said,
40
I can
yards.
shoot out to 40 yards, guarantee it. And I said, put your money where your mouth is and do it right now. We get out here to shoot, and
I went to
he's
30
like,
first.
let's go 30. I'm like, no, you said 40. Let's see what you got. And he center punched it, one shot, with a broadhead on. And he's like, I think I'm good. And I agreed with him. So then a week later, he shot his moose at 30 yards, and it It's a big moose. It's I don't remember what it scored for sure.
I don't
but
know that we ever officially scored it, but
what-
it's
how
up there
wide is
for
it? 50,
48, I think.
48, but it's got just it looks like a
The paddles are
Yukon or Alaskan moose because it's got
Yeah,
huge paddle.
it's not the widest moose you'll see, but it's
got the biggest palms.
it's
you've
the biggest
probably ever
paddles
seen.
I've ever seen in Idaho.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never seen one bigger. So
Seems
we
like a
should
lot of
get
the
that
bulls-
scored.
I
You
know.
should.
Seems like a lot of the bulls in Idaho now, they're wide, but they have almost elk tine antlers. They're just, I don't know, they don't really have the palms anymore.
They do, but they're only like 7 to 7
Mm-hmm.
inches wide, and then they have.
And they usually don't
tines.
have front palms, which his has front palms too, so it's a good bull.
And I'm sure after I, center punched that at 40 yards, I'm sure I outfished him when we went on the water. I'm positive.
I don't even remember going fishing. What about you? What's your favorite hunt?
I don't know what my favorite hunt is.
That whitetail hunt, though, I think the coolest part is it was late September, and we hadn't really seen that many deer. It'd been really hot. Then it rained for like 4 days straight. And I run a little store up north. I came down, and it was supposed to quit raining. We get out there, and the wind's blowing, it's raining. I'm like, this is going to suck.
I forgot my hoodie. I froze.
And it died. All the wind, the weather, it just died. And it was so quiet out there. Between the four of us, I think we counted 20-something different mature whitetail bucks.
It was
Yeah,
that
they
were-
were everywhere, and this is all
everywhere.
public. None of it's private.
all public land. It was
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Well, and after I shot mine,
I saw 7 bucks that night.
yeah, I saw.
I think I saw 5 or 6.
I shot that one, and I thought it was the one that
3
my
of them are
dad
huge.
saw, but then the one that he saw came into my tree, and it was sniffing on the buck that I just shot, and it stood. I videoed it on my phone for 10 minutes, and I texted these guys, and I'm like, I know you guys can't shoot. Do you want me to shoot this buck for you? It's right in front of me. They wouldn't let me. It's too early. They wouldn't let me regardless. But,
Well, and it's illegal.
yeah. But I just wanted to shoot again. Anyway, so then it hung out by my tree for like 15 minutes, and then it went back in the woods, and he was probably, 600-700 yards away from me, and he ended up shooting it over there. So we saw the same buck 3 times, and we all 3 could have shot it, and he did.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if this is one of your favorite hunts, but it's definitely up there with mine. Is when you killed your first elk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the one when he the heart surgery one.
He didn't have to do anything.
I know,
though.
but it was
Actually, I
pretty
did.
cool.
yeah,
I
what?
had to jog like a half mile, and I had no cardio at all.
Yeah, so he had heart surgery a couple years ago. Had to get a pig valve put in.
It was
And-
open heart surgery,
And it was like the first week of elk season.
and I wasn't
The
gonna
early
miss
elk
it.
hunt starts August 1st, and so what'd you hunt opening day?
I hunted opening
Oh,
day.
that was the day
That
I
was the
shot my
day
big
you
one.
shot your big one.
Yeah, so we hunted opening day, and then you
No,
had
I had surgery after, and
yeah,
I
like
hunt-
the
yeah.
6th or something, and then he didn't get to go for like 2 weeks. And so we've been watching the bull I shot and this other bull. We watched them for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I felt guilty driving out to our hunting spot opening morning. And I said, "All right, Dane, we drew straws, and I got the stand. I got to pick which area I wanted to hunt, and I was going to hunt obviously where these 2 360 bulls were. And on the way out to the spot, the morning of, I decided to let Dane do it because I felt guilty because he had to have heart surgery, and I just felt bad. So I let him hunt where the bulls were, and we saw him the day before. The next
evening.
that evening, the evening before it opened, opening day, I went 6 miles away and hunted a different area where we'd seen a lot of elk. Dane hunted where the 2 big boys had been, and I ended up shooting the big one.
They
moved
moved
6
that
miles overnight, and I ended up shooting him, and he ended up scoring 380.
It's gigantic.
Full velvet 380 bull, and he's just... And then, so Dane has heart surgery, and it took him 2 or 3 years to tell us that he went out the next day and missed a bull. And then he had
That was a gun problem, though.
And then he had heart surgery. And
We always use a bow, but he couldn't pull his bow back after having this heart surgery, so he's using
well, it
a
was
gun.
right before.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
he missed. And so then he had heart surgery and got out there like the 20th or the something. I don't know
It
exactly
was like
when.
10 days after surgery, or
Yeah.
like 12 days. Like I'd been out of the hospital for like 4 days.
yeah.
Yeah. So we go out there
and I
we
could barely walk.
We're driving in and we spot these 4 bulls and we know where they're going to go. And so I drop Dane off, put him in position, and then I kind of go back in case they do something weird. And
I heard him coming.
yeah, then he gets the story from here because I don't know what happened.
I was sitting there waiting, and I could hear him coming through the grass, the tall grass, and I could tell it was elk because they sound different. And I could hear him coming, and I knew, and I was ready, but it was just like barely shooting hours, and I couldn't tell which one was the big one, and so I didn't shoot him at first. They were at 20 yards, and I couldn't tell. I could see antlers, but I couldn't tell exactly which one was the big one. So
they were all kind of bunched up,
and I didn't get a shot at like 25 yards, and so they passed me, and I know where they're going because we've been scouting them, and they're headed like a half mile away to a crossing, and I get down in like a canal, it was like a ditch that was kind of deep, and I start jogging down it. And I had no wind at all. I was about passed out. Like, I could barely walk fast. And I get up there, and I see one come up, and it's a 6-point. And I didn't want to gamble anymore. And I shot the first one I saw. And I get over there, and the big one.
It's like a 350 bull.
It's bigger than that.
Probably like a 360 or.
It was at least a 360.
Anyway, it was like 40 yards from me. But I just shot the 280 or whatever it was, and so I had to let the big one go. But the one I did shot only went like 50 yards.
Yeah,
and then they got to pack it out.
Had to pack the whole
we had
thing
to pack it out and quarter it and everything. He just stood there and watched.
Stood there.
I think he might have held a knife or maybe even held a leg up.
I sharpened some knives. I couldn't lift anything, like at all. And then that year I went back.
Then like a couple weeks later, you shot a buck.
I shot a nice buck
with
but
40-pound draw.
But I turned my bow down to the minimum, the state minimum poundage.
40.
Yeah,
40.
It was at 70. I turned it down to 40 because I couldn't pull it back anymore. and I shot a nice deer that day.
That was another
and
good
Dad
one
had
too.
no
Yeah. they had this buck bedded, and so they kind of circle on it. Dane crawls up there, gets him to stand up, shoots him, and he runs right at my dad, and then takes off. And
my dad was like 40 yards away,
and he's like, "Oh, we didn't get him." And Dane's like, "What are you talking about? He's got an arrow in him. He's dead right over there."
He was like, "I didn't get a shot." I was like, "Well, I did." Like,
we gotta give him credit. We do a lot of shed hunting, and our dad taught us everything, and he still goes up. Like we hiked. We just went the other day and found some antlers, and he's up there with us almost every time. He doesn't go quite as fast anymore, and
he goes way more than me.
Doesn't hike quite as far,
because you have a little bit of a weight problem.
I never find him either. But he did teach us everything, and he still goes.
So
he's always there.
What is he? How old is Dad?
60.
He's 60 this year, so he killed the biggest buck last year with his bow. After he missed twice, but he did end up killing one bigger than all of ours. So
we had to go babysit him.
He missed one buck twice.
Yeah, the same buck twice, and then he didn't shoot that other one. So anyway, these are our hunting dogs. This is Trigger. This is Ender. There'll be lots of videos of them. Sometimes they get into fights just like us, but most of the time they do pretty good. So,
well, we'll have more videos coming out. We're planning on doing fishing, big game, small game, all that kind of stuff. And then we've been talking about doing some like videos that are just kind of
how-tos and
like stories of things that have happened in the past. And
then I run Idaho Dreams Taxidermy here in southeast Idaho, and I show you some of the mounts on the video. And so that'll all be linked to we'll have a link at the bottom to that stuff too. And
hopefully our next video will be in the jet boat, but somebody blew my motor in it here a couple weeks ago, so I'm in search of a new motor.
Our next video will be a shed hunting video. It won't be a fishing video.
I won't be on there.
We will.
I don't like hiking up and down mountains looking for horns. I never find anything.
Found his first one in a decade this year.
First brown elk shed in 10 years. First and only. I've found some white ones, but so I don't go that often. If I do go, it's usually to ride my bike or one of my toys, and then I make it for a couple hours, and I'm like, okay, time to go.
All right. Well, he said it best. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.